I guess it's just a matter of training yourself to associate it with something like that.
That's what they say. I just don't have the mind for that.
Yeah, I don't.
Nothing comes to mind.
Yeah, I don't.
Too much of the time.
It comes back to there's some little hooks in the back like
And it-
that.
and it
and
lips and
yeah, it
stuff.
captures that. Yeah, there you go, right, right. That's it.
Tiny djembe.
We get a real good drum sound coming out of this room.
That
Good acoustics.
looks nice and small.
And it's the floor suspended
Oh, okay.
off of the ground, so we have a really nice
It's a little hollow.
the low frequencies don't really translate that well onto the internet technology, but it's better than not having them. And I always like to send out a really good audio signal. Now, the way we do this is that we don't have to learn traditional Afro-Cuban or African right away.
Okay.
So what we work on developing is the feel, the groove. And a lot of people are afraid of drumming because they don't think they have the technical ability. And so we just circumvent that whole mindset. And we go straight to the body sense of rhythm. So it's more like a yoga in that sense. That's why the stands are really useful for this kind of drumming, because you don't have to hold the drum, so you're not generating tension like, in your knees. You see, originally it was a real guy kind of drum, it really had, and yours is a good example. Big drum, big guys. So now the women really are contributing a lot to this kind of drumming. And also people who are wounded or injured and stuff. So the stand really works as a meditative thing. But what it also does is it takes you out of your brain and it gets you down into a relaxed body state. So it's like meditation. And I prefer to drum with drummers who are relaxed rather than drummers who are tense. And because there's no anxiety. And so this is a totally safe environment to learn and play, and you don't have to be judged, And you can let that critical mind, take a break. Because it's the critical mind that gets in the way. Your natural body rhythm, it can play. But our intellect, the smarter we get, the higher up the food chain we go, the busier that intellect is. It's evaluating the environment, is this safe, is it dangerous, what do I have to do, what do I have to wear, who do I have to know? I was in New York, in the art gallery, people said, yeah, it's who you wear, man.
The name.
So this concept of the downbeat, right? That's the deep note right in the middle of the drum head. And once you get the hang of it, you can go back and forth. You don't have to, but it balances the brain, the hemispheres. Mirrored hand activity. That's what they call it over at UCLA. Now, this downbeat is the anchoring note. It's it's one if you're counting, but I don't recommend counting. I mean, I'm classically trained, so I'm a recovering classical musician, right? So, and counting is good, and I will invoke that under, duress. Point being, if we support the downbeat, it's going to work. It doesn't matter who's in the group. They're going to be able to find that note. Now, you also lose that note because everybody gets distracted. And that's not a big deal. When we're playing like this, not a big deal. If we were playing traditional African, oh, I'm lost, and you'd be lost until, the piece was over, because it's next to impossible to get back into a groove in African. Of course, it's like trying to get back into the third movement of Mozart's, Symphony in D. It's like you can't get back in. Once you're lost, you're totally lost. So here, there's no arrangement. The arrangement is very short. It's like 4 beats or 2 beats, right? And so if you get lost, everybody loses a downbeat. Even the greatest drummers lose the downbeat. They just don't let you know, right? No, that wasn't wrong. You just didn't dig it. So I encourage people to be adventurous, be creative, and probably lose the downbeat. Not a big deal. Get back on. So that now then has become the foundation for the healing drum meditation as a therapy. Because I'm witnessing people incredibly brilliant, smart, articulate, successful, and they're so busy in their brain that the downbeat is a challenge to stay on, right? And then I realized, well, that's why the drum is a meditation, this kind of drumming. Because what you're doing is you're paying attention to your attention. And it's going to drift. And, I'm a terrible person. I lost the downbeat. It doesn't matter, right? So there's no guilt, no shame, no remorse from your repercussions. So all you need to do then, right, is get back on. So a lot of people wince. At least you're not wincing. Plus, I'm talking at you, I'm intentionally distracting. Because what's evolving, what comes up, this is already there, is your natural sense of rhythm. You got a heartbeat, it's going. So there's rhythm in you. Most of us are up here, so it's hard for us to get down into the body. That's a very healing experience. So when you get down into your body rhythm, you don't have to think so much. You start to just feel. So that sensation of just being here, feeling the groove, no judging, no wrong notes, no performance requirements. Suddenly, all the emergency functions shut down. Adrenaline stops pumping. Endorphins become more active, positive endorphins. And after a few minutes of doing this, you feel safe, and it's like, oh, okay, And that's when you start to play, get confident, blood pressure comes down, etc. Good. So when I'm teaching, I explain the simplest approach, which is there's a deep note in the middle and there's a high note out at the edge. Right? Pretty much all drums have that principle. But most people don't even get that from a music teacher. So I like to start with the real simple stuff, the downbeat, which is that low note in the middle, and the upbeat, the high note out at the edge. Now, that's not a hard and fast rule. Those can always change, right?
I do like that.
Yeah, that's life, Now, I'll explain to you the interesting thing about what rhythm does to our intellectual, modern new mind. It blindsides it, sneaks up on it, and puts it into neutral, or into a receptive state. The intellectual, the critical mind, it's an evolution of the original survival mind, very primitive mind. But it's basically hijacked the whole system and running everything from the front lobes of the brain. And it's going who, what, when, where, why, all the time. Does this add up? All of those questions, constantly asking the rest of the body, the rest of the system. Now, as a result of all that brain activity, it's also generating anxiety. Because it's saying, I'm monitoring the rhythm in the environment, and the rhythm in the environment seems violent, seems aggressive, seems fast. So that must mean it's dangerous. So I'm going to secrete adrenaline. I'm going to try to keep up with these fast rhythms in order to survive. Right? That's an assumption. That's an inaccurate assumption. So it's running as fast as it can. And the smarter the person is, the faster they run. Because they're using more of those brain cells, of those high-functioning brain cells, the IQ brain cells. And it's quite proud of itself. I'm a V12, So with drumming, we were way below that performance level, right? Hi! Because what's interesting is that you can sneak up on that, it's coffee, that supreme intellect using rhythm. This is Kathy. And that's what we want to do, is we sneak up on the intellect, the survival mind, and we put it into neutral for a while. Just take a break, okay? And it does not want to take a break because it's a total control freak, right? Because I've gotten us this far, so just let me stay in control, right? And the body searching for a vocabulary to explain to the intellect, look, you don't know how to do this, okay? What? Don't know something? Excuse me. So the body says, I'll prove that you don't know how to do this, okay? And the brain says, how are you going to prove to me anything? You're not even the brain. You're just the body, right? The body says, rhythm can control the way you think. What you evaluate, your decision about reality is based on the rhythm that's affecting you. And just because we're in a high technological environment and everybody's BMW is going at least 100,000 miles revolutions per second, and we're trying to keep up with all these tempos, that does not mean that the environment is dangerous. It just means that things are like spinning. So the ancient wisdom, the sense of rhythm, says, look, we're going to just drum here, and I'd appreciate it, Mr. Mind, if you stay out of the loop, okay? You can sit off to the side and enjoy this. And the brain says, I'm sorry, I cannot promise that, because I have to be in control, right? That's my job. That's why I am evolved to this high state of affairs. And I'm in the front of the brain, and you're all the way in the back. So the body says, okay, I warned you. Now we're going to get serious. So the brain says, oh, do your worst. So the drum then becomes this tool to control that voracious intellect. And how you do it is just what we're doing right now. If you do this solid for 60 seconds, you can convince the intellect of anything. You can convince it to buy Band-Aids even when it's not bleeding. You can convince it to buy a remote control carpet vacuum cleaner when all you have is hardwood floors. It's rhythm. secret ingredient on all commercials and movies. George Lucas said it the best. He said, the soundtrack is 50% of a movie, and most people don't even know it's there. So we're becoming aware of our environmental rhythms and how they affect us. And if we ever need to relax that critical mind, all we have to do is lay back the groove. And now that's an old New Orleans term, old rhythm and blues. Right? You know, lay it back, don't push. And that relaxes the groove so the girls can dance. And really there's no other reason to play the drum.
Just want to learn how to play the drum.
Yeah. Brought a nice big drum that he got in Missouri.
Yeah, well, that's where I was when I got it. It came from Ghana.
It's from Ghana, so it needs to be tuned though.
That's really tall.
It's a big drum. Yeah, it's pretty.
Heads on it, about this.
Yeah,
Wow.
and it's lightweight. But see, the rest of the African drum carvers, like in Mali and the Ivory Coast and Senegal, they all tend to believe that the heavier wood is going to give them a bigger sound. Now, they're right, technically. The heavy wood is going to be more resonant. But I like the Ghana drums. I like them that they're lightweight wood because we don't need big, loud drums. This is a small room. And when we do outside events, we got plenty of sound. We don't need that conventional old school approach to banging on a djembe as hard as you can. And the old African teachers, that's the way they teach. They say harder, faster, louder. And the Afro-Cuban teachers, same way. So this is not that. This is much more relaxed. Because we don't need to go harder, faster, louder. That's kind of what we have to do all day long. So here, we don't need to do that. Here, we're laying it back, relaxing, having fun, and then we'll mix it up and, you know, mess around and be creative and, you know, speed up even if we want to. But first of all, we got to connect with that relaxing grooves. So the whole system says, okay, I'm not on alert. I can take a, you know, I can coast. This is not a life-threatening situation. Even though the mind gets in there and thinks it is, you know, it's like, oh, you made a mistake. Oh, no, it's the end of the world. You know, no, don't worry about it. So what we're going to do is we're going to vocalize, you know, and the vocalizing is just a way to open up the system, you know, get air into the lungs and all that. And there's no wrong notes, so if you feel like singing, you just feel, you know, fit right in. You'll get it. All right? Okay, here we go. Look at you! My goodness! Good to see you. How you doing? You're all grown up. Look at this. Oh yeah. Oh good. Yeah, good. You know, I had to do something. We're gonna shoot a movie next weekend up in Topanga. Yeah, it's a feature at some private house. The director it's a movie based in the 60s. A young couple riding a motorcycle up the coast. Basically what we wear, for all those things, Yeah, done. Yeah, good to see you. Anytime, come on in, anytime. Wow. Welcome, powers of the East. 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 Welcome, powers of the South. 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 Welcome, powers of the West. 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 Welcome, powers of the North. 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 Welcome, powers of the sky. 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 Welcome, powers of the earth. 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 Welcome, powers of the sea. 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 Welcome, powers within me. Welcome, powers within me. Welcome, powers within me. Welcome, powers within me. Circle drawn round. Circle drawn round. Circle drawn round. Circle drawn round. Power brought down. Power brought protection surrounds, protection surrounds, protection surrounds, protection surrounds, sacred abound, sacred abounds, sacred abounds, sacred abounds. Let the goddess dance. Let the goddess dance. Let the goddess dance. Let the goddess dance. Whoa, Great Spirit, bless our endeavor. 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 Whoa, is really important because it closes the energy. You know, like we're in an energy flow now, right? Some sort. We don't have any words for it in this culture, right? But you can feel, you know, something. It's pretty good. But it's important to like be able to like shut that down, you know, when you need to, when you're done, because the drum attracts energy. It generates energy, and anything that generates energy attracts energy. So that's why we do this generic invocation kind of thing. It's not offensive. Pretty much everybody can like sing along if they want to. But the point of it is to create a positive intention so that we don't attract any like bogus energy, you know, parasites from other dimensions, or, you know, no cheap science fiction movie kind of monsters coming through the portals. Now, if we were to go to like the Amazon, Cuba, American Indian, they take this stuff like really seriously, right? And so, you know, over the years, I've said, okay, I'll go along with that. I don't know, but I'll go along with it. Seems like a good idea, you know, kind of like play it safe, you know. So, like for instance, the drumming groups that I have inadvertently helped get started around the country end up being sort of like monsters because they just go and bang and bang and bang and bang. It's not as coherent as what we're doing here. And then when they end, it's not a clean ending. So it's sort of a psychotic break when they end. Especially like down here in Venice, Sunday afternoons, like nuts, right? So I've, you know, communicated with some of these master drummers. It's so very important to end it. Now, the big ending that I learned it from Chuck Berry. I was his drummer when I was a kid. Played the drum set. And sometimes we really sucked. The band, it was never the same. Every night, a different band. Sometimes it was really good, sometimes really bad. I said, Chuck, we really sucked tonight. He says, look, man, it doesn't matter. First of all, I'm Chuck Berry. It doesn't matter. Second of all, what really matters is that you have a good ending. That way the kids know where to clap. They get to be in the band. That's how they get to be in the band. So you got to give them that. So you got to give them a nice, clean, sharp, obvious ending, and they know that's their cue then for their part. And they clap, okay? Here it comes. Back and forth. Keep going. Last one, here it comes. Oh, yay. Yeah.
I didn't get your name.
I'm Larry.
Larry, nice to meet you.
So you need water, or you got that coffee? There's another bottle here.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, so, that's pretty much half of the lesson. There's two basic rhythms in the whole universe. And I know this, because I used to write the Star Wars comic strips for George Lucas.
All right.
And he knew all this stuff. He knew what was going on
He
out
taught it
there.
to you.
Yeah, he was on the inside. And I call this the Luke Skywalker syndrome. It's like when you go out and you look up at the sky at night, you see all the stars, you go, I'm down here. I'm this little speck. And out there, that's where the party is. That's where I would rather be. So what the drum does is it brings the party home. It's all. As soon as you got a drum, you have a party. And why is that? Now, David Crosby said, whenever there's music, there's a party, and if there's a party, I'm there. And that was his whole ethic for his whole life. And his liver will attest to that. The previous liver that is now resting in state in the Smithsonian. So, the one rhythm that we just did, that's a 4-beat rhythm. 2 or 4, depending how obsessive the counting part of the mind can get. Most drummers don't have to count past 4. That's a good thing about drumming. It's like, once you get good as a drummer, you can cease to have to use the frontal lobes at all. They can, you can rent them out. So the other basic rhythm is a 3-beat rhythm. Now the 3-beat rhythm, now we're talking about something very challenging. So get ready, it's going to be really hard, okay? You've never heard this before, right? Now, depending on where you are in the world, this is going to be one of the indigenous rhythms. For instance, in Vienna, it's going to be what? A waltz. Da, 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 right? Da, 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 da. Now, the challenge is da, 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 as you go back and forth. Da, 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 da. See, now, the smarter you are, again, the harder it is to do this. Because, are you right-handed? Okay. Your brain has already made assumptions about drumming, such as, okay, this downbeat thing, I'm always going to play that's the most important note, right? I'm always going to play that with my most important hand, which is what? My right hand, right? So, what we do here, this is a test. This is a diagnostic test. It's like hooking up your car at the repair shop. It's going to tell you what the brain of your car is refusing to do, right? And here, what it's refusing to do is to go back and forth and let your weaker hand, your less dominant hand, actually have one of those downbeats, back and forth. So now you've mastered it. Now you're an advanced drummer. Not so funny because a lot of people can't do that because their belief system is so rigid that they can't change. So this is, when I do the therapy, this is one of the tests. And I learned, some people, they don't want to go here. You get lost and it's not a big deal, you get back on. And it's important to be able to do this, because when we go fast, you got to be able to go back and forth. But we're not going to go fast right now, because we're staying in this slow meditative 3 group. And we're gonna wash away everything that we don't need. Wash away, wash away, wash away fear. 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 Aye, 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 Wash away, wash away, wash away pain. 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 Wash away, wash away pain. wash away illness, 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 wash away illness. Wash away stress, 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 wash away stress. Okay, big ending, here comes. Yeah, last one. Oh! Now, the big ending is a trick, okay? The big ending is to trick you into playing those notes, double fast notes back and forth. Because there's no anxiety. You're learning that part, because I could show you that part at the very beginning, and then you would worry about playing it correctly, and you would learn it with anxiety, which, of course, I don't want to listen to. So by putting it at the end, right, you invest absolutely no anxiety in playing it, because it's the end. It's going to be done here in a second, and that's like, who cares, right? So, but you did learn it, and you learn it without any of the intellectualizing that comes when it's a formalized lesson. So it's just sneaking up, again, on the intellect and fooling it into like having a good time. Because most of the time it doesn't believe that it's having a good time. It's like, it could be, right, if it were to admit that it's having a good time, but it's more concerned with like, all of these things that,
Important stuff.
yeah, important stuff, yeah. Is this gluten-free? Stuff like that. And this is gluten-free. Just in case, you need to know
Actually,
that.
what I meant to ask.
Well, I love the Ozarks. And that whole area, Kansas, Missouri, right, I've been out there a lot.
Did you
drumming.
play with Chuck in Missouri?
No, we were further east, in the south. But
Oh, really?
yeah.
Further east?
Georgia, Florida,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Huh.
And
When
with-
was that?
Oh, this is before you were born. This was back in the early 70s.
Oh, I was born.
You were born. Technically, you were
I
born.
was 10.
Yeah. Okay.
I was 10. I mean,
Yeah. Okay. All right.
I
Technically, yeah. But what I did, I played with a lot of different people. I played back there with Tim Buckley and, back in the mid-70s, Jeff Buckley's father. But I ended up teaching this over the last 20 years back there. I wrote several books. The first one was called Drumming the Spirit to Life. And Llewellyn, big New Age book publisher, picked it up and put me on tour, signing books. Suddenly I was like the Bruce Springsteen of New Age drumming. Who would have, go figure. So they had the big new international New Age trade show conventions in Denver. And I go out there and take these drums, and I was the first drummer at the New Age conventions. Can you believe that? They hadn't even gotten onto it yet. They didn't even realize, So we introduced these
I
drums.
can't imagine the two being separate.
Yeah. What?
I can't imagine the two being separate.
Yeah, right. You
Like-
now
like New Age would've
exactly
been drumming.
right. But they didn't have it. They didn't even know that the drumming was a market for their publishing company. She said, "Oh, we drum." And I said, "No, you're not. You don't know what drumming is." So the books came out, and of course they were a big hit. I got an email, said, "We read your book. Would you please come out to Kansas and teach our drummers at our festival how to hold the downbeat, how to make a nice safe groove, a safe space for the women to dance and the people to dance, and we'll pay you." I said, "Okay." And they picked me up to Kansas City Airport, treated me like a rock star. And they were all like hippies, but they were like modern, like pagans or whatever. They said, "We have the largest pagan festival in the United States." I said, "In Kansas?" They went, "Oh yeah, we've been going for almost 20 years." And then she said, "It's all a family affair, kids, everybody's invited, very sweet people, lots of professionals. We have a whole army of lawyers protecting us from the locals. We have 400 private acres. Used to be a Boy Scout camp. We bought it. We have lakes and trees and a big pavilion on the top of the hill. And we have all sorts of music. But we want you to teach the drummers how to hold a groove around the fire so people can dance around the fire." So I get out to the festival site. It looks like Woodstock. And so I'm in the tent, right? And the woman that's running it and her husband, they said, "There's one thing that we didn't tell you of why we brought you here." I went, "That doesn't sound good." They said, 3 bullies. They've ruined it for the last 2 years. They stand out in the middle of the fire circle and don't let anybody else play. They bang really loud. They're very rude and aggressive, and they're great big guys. And the wife called them djembe cowboys. I said, "Wait a minute. I'm your hired gun?" And they said, "We read your book. You're the only one that understands this problem." So I said, "Okay, the check cleared, so I guess I'm your man." So I trekked up the hill, the djembe on my back. I felt like Toshiro Mifune, it was an old samurai movie, And the fire was going, and the people were around, and it sounded terrible. People were just banging and like really not doing any groove. So I straightened them all out. And it was like serious confrontation. These guys were like, but I had all the dancers on my side, you know. They said, no, we want his groove. And so I'm drumming, you know, and having a good time. And a woman comes up to me and says, would you be interested in drumming in a missile silo? I said, missile silo? She said, yeah, they're all over the Midwest. And people live in them. Wow, really? I said, it must sound incredible. Yeah, it does. They have a group, but it really sucks. And so, like, we would love it. So I ended up going out there to Topeka on a regular basis, and then into Lawrence at the university, even out on the reservation. Got to know a lot of people, like in Kansas City, you know, which is not in Kansas, right? A little part of it's in Kansas. Yeah. And I learned how to say Missouri, you know, like a local. Almost.
I never did that. I grew up calling Missouri.
Oh, maybe I'm wrong.
Although I do say y'all.
Okay.
Where are you from?
St. Louis.
Oklahoma.
Now, that's true. St. Louis is in Missouri, isn't it?
Yeah.
My family's just a couple of generations out of the Ozarks.
That's cool. That's cool.
Ozarks is beautiful.
The near Ozarks. Kind of Ozark boundary country.
Okay, maybe we should take this to Branson. Very conservative music environment.
It'd be so much fun to play down where I used to camp in Missouri. Never heard drums down there. It was a perfect place for drums. It's like it's a deciduous jungle. It's really cool.
That'd be great. Well, I've been invited into the Ozarks to do this at different kind of festivals. Because they got a lot of music festivals out there. Oh, healing light. We are in the 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 healing light. Okay, Big Andy here. Okay, last one. Oh, whoa. How you doing?
Good.
Good, good.
I don't sit
Now-
this still very long.
What's that?
I don't sit this still very much. Like as in like my butt position relative to the seat.
Well, that's why it's such a challenge to meditate in our culture. And I'm on staff with this recovery organization called Bridges to Recovery's High-End Beverly Hills kind of thing. And the first thing they do when people come in there is they try to teach them how to meditate. And it's like, these people don't want to meditate. They're, it's like, I'm busy, okay? And it's like, what?
I want to medicate.
Yeah, medicate, yeah. So the drumming is a form of meditation where you're active. Your body is moving and doing something, which is more comfortable for our sensibilities. To sit and do absolutely nothing to meditate is just maddening for us because we're totally cranked. Everybody's got to be busy, active. So the drumming as a meditation, because the downbeat, recurring, steady, relaxed, not speeding up, brings the system down to a level of calmness that, it's really kind of hard to get to any other way. So it's proving to be pretty useful as a therapy. And then they become good drummers too. A little better than what they were, because most of them never hit a drum. So what I do sometimes is I do a technical little bit, teach. And I base it on, because I'm a rudimental drummer. I started with marching and the drum and bugle corps and all that stuff, which is totally big, huge in the Midwest.
Yeah.
So in the national, competition when I was a kid, we were like first place in a drum section, So translating the rudiments, the drumming, the 13 basic American drum rudiments, over to the hand drums really makes a lot of sense because it's actually where they came from. So I teach, how to play the paradiddle on a djembe. Now, and again, this is a brain stimulation as well as learning to be a drummer. So it's right, left, right, right, okay, and then left, right, left, left, okay? So we're going to go real slow with this. Okay, right, left, right, right, left, right, left. Yeah, so it's like, so you get over the judgment, right, and realize the only thing that's important is the double notes. And the, on the end of the paradiddle, diddle, Now, we're going to hold this nice and steady like this, right, double, okay, right, left, right, right, left, right, left. Yeah, so you see now what's happened, and I like to make this distinction. You're not going crazy, okay. What happens is now we're forcing the intellect to do something that it doesn't want to do. Because for the last 20, 30 minutes, it's been on vacation. It's been sipping a Mai Tai down in the Caribbean. And suddenly we're saying, okay, get back in the program here, learn some notes, you know, make yourself useful. And the intellect says, but I thought you were going to do this all on your own. So what this is a distinction in the brain. We're seeing that there's a boundary between the different types of activities that the brain is capable of doing. You know, you're trying to listen to me and do this hand sequence at the same time, and it's like does not compute. It's like tough. So we go right, left, right, right, left, right, left. You got it. Right, left, right, right, left, right, left. Good. Now, what this is doing, it's rewiring the brain. You're getting new circuitry. And this double note is important because later on, as we speed up and play different things, you're going to need those two notes on one hand. Now, stay there and try to hold this together. Now, what I'm going to do is confuse you, okay, by playing twice as fast. I'm going to play the paradiddle up to speed against this basic pattern. Imagine that you're playing the bass part and the whole salsa orchestra is going wild and crazy. But they're all depending on you to hold the basic part because they need that to anchor themselves. Because the fastest players get lost the most. It's like Babe Ruth, you just keep swinging. All right? Okay, here we go. Stay still. The brain, the intellect, right, the advanced part, got totally distracted by what I was doing. It was like, I should be paying attention. That sounds important, I should pay attention. It's like being at a cocktail party. And whoever's talking the loudest gets the most audience. Right? It doesn't matter what they're saying. It's just that they're most dominant. Their rhythm of their speech is more dominant than anyone else. So it shows how the intellectual mind will be swayed and influenced by whatever the dominant rhythm is. Because it feels it has to entrain, go into synchronization with whatever the dominant rhythm is. It's a survival ethic from way back. Now speed up a little bit, just a little. Now lock in here, just no faster. Yeah, the vocal tradition is really good. Plus, it activates your voice with that drumming. So you start to coordinate your voice with rhythm. There I did, there I did, there I did. Good. Okay. Now, we're going to stop, okay? Right there, don't stop. Okay. Because we don't want to get tense. You're learning, right? And the brain is what creates anxiety, not the body. The tension comes from the intellect deciding that this is difficult. It's a dangerous situation, maybe even life-threatening. So I'm going to secrete adrenaline and lactic acid into the muscles. I'm going to prepare for imminent death, or at least, you know, a rending of flesh by some unknown force that's being, you know, coming at me. And all it is, it's a drum and it's a goat skin. But the intellect builds this focus of intention, trying to grasp something that it doesn't understand. It doesn't understand rhythm. But it's getting affected by it. It's like, what's going on? Why am I feeling this way? So now we're going to slide back over into the other part of the brain, the body part, the sense of rhythm. Is sense. It's not an intellectual concept. It's what you were born with. And so what'll happen now is, because I'm stalling, right? What's happening right this instant is that the mind and the body are assimilating what you just learned. And it says it takes a moment for the drum student to like accept it, and the body then gets the language and says, okay, I'm good to go with this now. So then we're going to pick it up to tempo and play whatever you want. You don't have to play the notes. You don't have to play paradiddle. Every once in a while you may slide into it and like get a couple of notes. Oh, I did it well. And that's all we can hope for, right? Paradiddle, paradiddle. 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 Paradiddle, Now, the paradiddle was invented during the Revolutionary War. Yeah. Because the Continental Army had to come up with drum beats that were not British. Because on the battlefield, the British drummers would play their parts as, based on the orders from the general. Lafayette, he comes to George Washington and says, look, man, your drummers suck. You got to get these drummers to swing, man, because all their drum teachers were British, and the only thing they know are the British drum beats, and we can't use those. We get totally confused. You got to come up with something fresh. So George says, "You handle it, John." So he goes into Williamsburg and he finds the drummers, the drum teachers. And the drum students are like 13 years old, boys and girls. He says, look, you got to come up with something fresh. Because we use the drums in the battlefield. You got to come up with unique grooves. So the drum teachers says, where am I going to find new drum grooves? And his students said, go out on the street, man. Go out on the street and listen. You'll hear them. And they heard African slaves drumming. They heard Portuguese drummers. They heard Philippine drummers. They heard American Indian drummers. Paradiddle, 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 American Indian. Oh, Maybelline, why can't you be true? Whoa, Maybelline, why can't you be true? You done started back doing the things you used to do. Didn't expect that one, did you? As I was motivating over the hill, saw a Maybelline in a Coupe de Ville. Going down the Oakland Road, nothing can touch my V8 Ford. Maybelline, why can't you be true? Whoa, Maybelline, why can't you be true? You done started back doing the things you used to do. lane. Side by side, Maybelline. Why can't you be true? Whoa, Maybelline. Why can't you be true? Get it started back doing the things you used to do. Now, everybody loses, okay? This is the point. So remember that the downbeat, that's the note that gets you back into the groove. All the little notes, they're unimportant. They're going to change. So as long as you can find your way back into the downbeat of any song, you're back in the groove. Now, a higher level of rhythms theory about this rhythm is this is straight up and down, 16th notes, but it's also the swing. Chuck Berry was brilliant at doing both. It swings like a big band, kind of jazz, and also straight up and down like rock and roll. And that's what created this incredible drama in his music. That and the fact that it was great music. But this ability to swing and do the triplet, right? And to do the other kind of fill too. Right? That's the 16th and yeah, the 8th notes. Okay. And the triplet then. So that, yeah. Yeah. Stay relaxed. So now that is creating the waltz that we were doing a minute ago. And now it's 4 times as fast. And it becomes that hot lick that Chuck Berry was always known for. Triplet, 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 right? But it's the same sequence. So you see now how critical it is to be able to go back and forth on that slow 3. So when you play fast, you don't hurt yourself. There it is. Yeah, you got it. Yes, I'm a long, tall Texan. I ride a big white horse. I forget the rest of it. Good. Good. So now what's happening? Yeah, that was it. Yeah. Long distance information, give me Memphis, Tennessee. Try to reach the party, get in touch with me. High up on the ridge, just a half a mile from the Mississippi Bridge. There you go. Yeah, that was good. Oh no, that wasn't it. Yeah. My uncle took the message and he wrote it on the wall. Marie was only 6 years old. Information, please. Try to get me through to her in Memphis, Tennessee. and I did not agree. I remember that line. Broke up our happy home in Memphis, Tennessee. So it swings and stays rigid at the same time. Those are the two magical rock and roll grooves. Little Richard tore this one up. This particular groove. Good golly, Miss Molly, sure like the ball. Good golly, Miss Molly, sure like the ball. You're rocking and a rolling, can't hear your mama call. And then Elvis picked that groove up and did "You Ain't Nothing But a Hound Dog," Big Mama Thornton's hit song, to that groove. You ain't nothing but a hound dog, crocking all the time. You ain't nothing but a hound dog, crocking all the time. You ain't never caught a rabbit and you ain't no friend of mine. Said you was high class, but that was just a lie. You said you was high class, but that was just a white lie. You ain't never caught a rabbit and you ain't no friend of mine. Woo! So what they had learned and assimilated is the evolution of the groove from that swing, from that triplet, which was the original New Orleans blues rhythm. And it became more urbanized, became more urgent, more aggressive. Rock and roll became rock and roll. So the early rock and rollers combined the two. And it was a discovery process, totally accidental. Because in New Orleans, all the original race recordings, recorded by blacks, had a market all on their own. And the record companies did not put pictures of the recording artist on the albums. So people up north would buy the record, loving it, and not know that the singer, that the band was black. Now that all was well and good for a while in the early 50s, in the 40s. But when rock and roll started to happen, suddenly the middle class white kids were buying these records and then wanting to see the live acts. Now, down in New Orleans, and Chuck was in on this, he goes, how come they bought that song? How come those kids with $1 consider that song a hit, as opposed to this other song, say some other blues song? Because they were all coming out of the blues. So here we're going to end it. That's good. So you're getting it, right? The fuses are going to fry a little bit because we're, forcing, the intellect to actually back off, and it's just not used to doing that. Sure. But it gets it. So the original blues stuff coming over on the slave ships and coming into New Orleans was that slow rhythm. It might be a little soft. You need another one? Is that getting to be hard?
I just think one was flatter.
Oh, it's too lumpy. Yeah, they get lumpy. Yeah. And a list. Yeah, that's great. You have to see the chiropractor now. So we're back to the 3. Now we're going to speed up. Now when you speed up, we're going to have to take out some notes that we don't want. Now, the downbeat comes every 6 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1. And you don't have to play all the notes. Play lazy, be lazy. Yeah. So now, here we are. Now, good. We're in. And now you can favor your right hand. If you want to go back and forth, fine. But we're playing the blues, so you don't have to, do it correctly. So great history. It's African, but it's also Irish. It's an Irish jig. It's also American Indian. The ghost dance. Every culture uses South American, Far East. So it's a universal rhythm. Now, so when the music was first getting recorded in New Orleans, most of the songs were composed off of this rhythm. Louis Armstrong, King Cotton. So then Chuck Berry and Little Richard learned how to play guitar and piano based on this rhythm. Would you like some drummer's balm for your hand?
I don't know what else.
You maybe.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. That's the closest.
Okay, someone behind you.
That's fine. I'm good.
Put a ball later. When it starts to bleed, we'll take it seriously.
You see that plane goes up, I can't hear myself, I don't hear that well.
You can't hear?
I'm just, yeah, I can't hear myself that well, but that's okay. I don't want to play.
I'm talking too loud.
No, you're good. Yeah, everyone's fine. I just.
Okay, well,
It is what it is. I'm fine. I'm good.
good. Okay. You don't have to be shy. You can go ahead and play. I'll let you know if you're playing too loud. So this was the first group that came out of New Orleans on the Race Records. This kind of rhythm. All the old doo-wop stuff based off this. So then every once in a while the drummer would start to play more up and down, more choppy. Get it really aggressive. Big Joe Turner did this. And as a result of that, it stopped being a blues shuffle and became see the difference? But the downbeat is still the same place. Now, suddenly when they started playing like this, they were selling records. Because it was more obvious to the kids who really didn't have much of a experience feeling rhythm. Pretty much, everybody. So they had more luck with this kind of rhythm. It was simple, not so sophisticated. The kids could find the downbeat and they could kind of dance. And that's how Chuck found his niche. He realized that the kids could relate to this groove better than the old blues shuffle. But the rhythm section, they were coming out of that old New Orleans jazz tradition, so they'd still swing it. So Chuck would play straight up and down like this, choppy, 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 on his guitar, and the rhythm section would sort of swing it, and it was like, it didn't quite fit. And that's what created that drama of the early rock and roll, this urgency, right? Jerry Lee Lewis, and Buddy Holly. Because this is country. So they combine the blues with the country. Didn't think you'd be playing country on a djembe, did you? I gotta do is act naturally. You say I'm gonna be a big star. The truth is plain to see. I'm the biggest fool that ever hit the big time. All I gotta do is act naturally. You get the idea. Pretty little Sheila, their name drives me insane. Pretty little Sheila. Don't know the words. You know, the Everly Brothers, right? Everly Brothers totally worked this groove right into the ground. Made a lot of money. So now what you're hearing is the double time. But you're not playing. You're playing halftime. But you're able to feel, and that's the country. The boom, chacka, boom, chacka, boom, chacka, boom, chacka. So you see, when I was initially deciding how to teach the djembe, I decided to use the basic pattern, which was actually country, played halftime. So this is the basic pattern that we started with tonight, right? But now your ear is hearing it differently. You're hearing it double time, like Caddy's playing the double time part, the garden. But yeah, now you solve the problem, because now you know where the downbeat is. And everything else that's going on, yeah, it's going to come and go and be sort of distracting. But the meditation now, you got it. You're right on the downbeat. So you can get adventurous and try different things and get lost, crash and burn, not a big deal. Get back on the downbeat and you're in the groove. And that's the great invention of American music. It's totally egalitarian. Anybody pretty much can participate. That's why rock and roll is so accessible to everybody, and rhythm and blues, so accessible to everybody in the whole world. I'm going to slow it down. Just a little bit. Right here. Now slowing down is the secret to relaxing the intellectual mind. Just slowing tempo, the intellectual mind will make the assumption that now the world is a safe place. So it'll stop pumping the adrenaline. And as a drummer, you come down in tempo and you find these really golden grooves that are slow, and the only way you can really find them is to let go of the fast tempo and back off. So this is the next one down, this tempo. And the drummer's job was to know these tempos. So when you're in the recording studio, the song would hit the right tempo that people could dance to, and it would be a hit. Double time for this. is rockabilly. It's tempo, mostly rockabilly. I asked my congressman, he said, quote, "Can't help you, son, 'cause you're too young to vote. Now it's gonna do, 'cause I'm gonna do, 'cause there ain't no cure for the summertime blues." So when I teach a basic pattern, I'll teach a halftime, just because it's easier to play. But it's actually, I'm hearing it double time. We're playing the double time part. Boom, chaka, boom, chaka, boom, chaka, boom, chaka. I intimate that. It'd be nice to have like people playing the double time part while I play the halftime. Because this locks it in. You know? But the other part adds all that drama. Chantilly lace with a pretty face and a ponytail hanging down, giggling and talking, wiggling and walking, makes the world go round. Ain't nothing in the world like a big-eyed girl. Make me act so funny, make me spend my money, make me feel real loose like a long-necked goose. Oh, baby, that's what I like. So all of the grooves are related. That's what's cool. You know, if you can find it, you can like be half time or double time, and it's all consistent. Even the triplet. And when you do that at this tempo, you suddenly hear all those songs, you know. Paradiddle diddle, paradiddle diddle. Circle, John, round. Circle, John, round. Circle, John, round. Circle, John, round. Power brought down. Power brought down. Power brought down. Power brought down. Protection surrounds. Protection surrounds. Protection surrounds. Protection surrounds. Let the goddess dance. Oh, sacred, sacred, sacred abounds. Sacred abounds. Sacred abounds. Let the goddess dance. Let the goddess dance. Let the goddess dance. Let the goddess dance. Oh, oh, oh. Great Spirit, bless our endeavor. 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 Whoa, Okay, come on, Big Andy. Okay, here it comes. Okay, last one. Oh, you made it. You survived. Live to tell. So now you're an expert. You're a veteran. You can sit in any group anywhere in the world. Now you understand the basic building blocks. All rhythms and all cultures. Use the 3 and use the 4 beat. And it's as if you can walk. That's what happens. You're certainly welcome. We have straps and you stand up or you have stands.
Oh, I'm fine. I did some leg exercises for the first time the other day, and my legs were particularly sore right now. And so I'm living with that.
Having to do more.
Yeah. Oops.
So no, that's good. That's what happens. These stands are counted down. So when the drum's on them,
They stay. Sorry.
Okay, so you want to leave your drum, and then you want me to work on your drum?
Yeah. What does something like that cost?
Probably, I'm guessing, is like everything looks in order. It's going to be about $50 because I'm doing all the ropes and
Sure.
training.
That sounds
It'll probably take just rent the head. It'll take So when I'm done pulling it back up, the vertical strings will be really tight.
Yeah.
And there won't be any horizontal. And then as it, tends to loosen up over time, you can add the horizontal.
You can lace in the horizontal to tighten it up.
That's called the Molly weave, or on yours, pulling diamonds. Because as you start to do layers of the horizontal, it creates a diamond pattern.
Right.
So they call that pulling diamonds. So you won't, basically now it's pulled, the horizontals are up about as far as they should go.
Mhm.
If you pull any more, he was right. If you go any more than that, the head is tweaked, just odd tension on it.
Okay.
So he was right not to pull it any more than that.
Right.
So now what we do though, you gotta strip it all the way back down and pull the verticals, so that's tight. So then when you start again with the horizontals,
So that you pull the verticals tighter than he did the first time.
well, he didn't go all the way down to the verticals. All he did was add the horizontal. See,
He replaced the whole head, so he had it all on strong, I assume. I
Well,
assume
it's a
takes-
real challenge to pull it really, really tight. And that's why, I broke down and got this machine. It's a wooden table with the lever thing. I
Right,
push
right.
my foot. And I've done plenty with my hands, and it's a real challenge to get it pulled tight. You gotta really be an expert. And I learned from our friends in Ghana how to do it. And it was like, whoa, this is like, it takes some muscle, and you gotta
Right.
be careful with your back and your hips, cause you're pulling your.
Right, right.
So then, there's friends of mine back east at some of these festivals, they stand.
Cool.
So you put it on, there's a cleat, you put it on the little.
Really, really, you stick it on one of the lines and you push down on the
Yeah,
lever
push
and
on
it pulls
the
it all
lever
tight.
with
That's
your foot,
neat.
it just pulls it, it's all even, and it's, makes it good.
It's the old fashioned way.
Yeah, the old fashioned way, was risky, because they would use actually just a stick, and they would wrap the rope around a stick and pull.
Right.
And it's like you never knew what the tension was gonna be. But, and traditionally, the djembe would be pulled so tight that if you were to add one more knot, the head would pop.
Oh, okay.
That was the tradition, of trying to get it as close to the maximum tension.
Okay.
Now, I don't really like that tone because the drum is so incredibly tight. And
Yeah.
if you play outdoors, then it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gonna be really loud.
It'll go like a gunshot.
Yeah.
You'll hear it for 5 minutes. So, as a meditation tool, I prefer the looser head.
Something a little more
Plus,
relaxed.
it's a deeper tone, and you obviously like that too.
Yeah.
So, and it's very soothing, because that deep tone then is moving the heart chakra, it's moving this energy that's in the body,
Mhm.
it's a lower frequency. And instinctively, our tribe, this cultural mix, is coming to the djembe with lower tones like that in order to find this meditative relaxation space.
Mm.
The traditional djembes from Senegal, they're so high pitched, they sound like AK-47.
Yeah.
Which of course makes sense, because those people, like in the Congo, they know what an AK-47 sounds like. They grew up with that.
Right.
So they're playing from their cultural set.
But as a signal, it's more effective because it's more penetrating.
Yeah.
I mean, the bass note is fabulous in music, but if you're trying to signal somebody who's far away, what you want is that high note. You want something that's going to cut through whatever's between you
Exactly.
and
And that's the way they describe it. It's penetrating or it's passive.
Mm.
And it can be either way. It's like a low tone can be penetrating too, if it's the right kind of drum. And that's what was confusing about the ethnomusicologists who were trying to document African drumming like back in the 1800s. They were saying, how do you define a high note and a low note? High, low? What do you mean high, low?
There is no high and low. It's a drum.
So it took a long time for the European mind to comprehend the beauty, grace, and complexity of African drumming.
Medium, I don't want to go back to.
We still don't really comprehend it that well,
Yeah.
because their time signatures are
Not in
different
hip
than
hop.
ours. But the way I teach it, these are the general time signatures that most cultures use, and it'll get you there.
Right.
So if you do decide to study traditional African, you'll sort of like be able to suss it out a little bit.
Sure.
You'll be able to sit in.
Well, all the stuff that, right,
No.
just like you said, right up to rock and roll, it makes sense to translate it in native drum because it's pretty much. I mean, it's all, those are the basics.
Yeah, and so when I went back to the drum set after teaching, I said, I played a lot better. I said, oh, I said, yeah, man, I get it.
Right.
And it's like,
You know when.
and the kids, the smart Alex, and they were, oh, I play real drums. I said, yeah, right.
This is not right.
That's funny.
So I'll get write up an invoice, get your phone
Miracle
number,
when
so I know how to reach you.
I was, thinking if, we should work on it tomorrow or Sunday. I mean, you're gonna start on it right away?
Yeah, probably. I'll have some free time. Unless you wanted to drop it by later.
Well, I was half thinking about that. I'm going out of town Monday morning, and I'm gonna be gone until Thursday night, so I'm not gonna have certainly not gonna have any need for it. But now I've got like some things that are sort of fresh in my head, and I might wanna just sit down and.
Go for it. Take it and then bring it, you know, before
Swing
you
it by.
leave.
How late are you here on Sunday?
We do it Sunday workshop at 3. And that finishes at 4:30, 5 o'clock, and then, you know, by 6, we're about ready to go.
Oh, okay, so you're here late.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'll do that, swing it by.
Fine, good.
On Sunday.
And then you can go to YouTube or my Facebook page
Mhm.
or my blog, buddyhound.com, and, you know, go over, listen to what we did tonight, because I date them.
Okay.
And they're also archived on YouTube, Russell Buddy Helm channel.
Okay, okay. So you actually recorded what we did tonight, and it goes up online.
Straight to Google
Straight
Search.
up. Oh, okay, that's cool.
But you can link it from Facebook, Russell Buddy Helm, or the blog, buddyhelm.com. There's a link.
You got a card around here or something?
Yeah, it's on the flyer.
Right, yeah, I'll get it out.
So I'm gonna shut it down, and we'll still.
Oh,